Hi, Leah.
Hi, Kamna.
I know you were really excited about
I
our
know I
guest
can't
today, as
talk.
am
Go
I.
ahead. You have
No,
to
no, you.
introduce her.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
I will because everybody who's listening knows I love my sleep so much. It's my favorite thing in the whole world to really, I mean, legitimately getting into bed is my favorite part of the day. So we have Dr. Holliday-Bell with us today. You are a sleep doctor. What would you call yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a sleep specialist, a certified clinical sleep specialist.
Okay. So what does that exactly mean? Tell us more.
So that means, so first of all, I am also a board certified physician, which is separate from my clinical sleep practice. So I became a physician first. We can get into this in the process of doing that. Sleep was horrible. And then I decided to become certified as a clinical sleep specialist. But basically, it means I research and study and know a lot about sleep and a lot about how to help people improve their sleep from a clinical foundation, backed by like research and science.
Okay.
It seems like such a basic thing. You go to bed, you go to sleep, you get rest, and you get up. It doesn't seem like it should be that complicated, but clearly, if you were specializing in it, it must be much more than just go to bed and go to sleep.
100%. And I wish it was as simple as it seems because the world would just be a better place. People would be so much happier
Mm.
and healthier. But unfortunately, there's so much that goes into it. And the thing is, there's so much that impacts it that a lot of us are not aware of, or even some of the things that we're doing that we're not aware of. So oftentimes it goes really deep in terms of sleep issues. We got to peel back some layers to get to the root cause.
Mm. Tell us a little bit about your background. And I was reading on your website that you started this when you were in med school, right?
Yeah, so actually in residency, absolutely. So as I said, I'm a physician and I'm someone who's always had a deep loving relationship with sleep and always needed a lot of sleep, loved to sleep. But as I was going throughout my medical training, sleep became harder and harder to come by. Initially, it was that I didn't have time to sleep. I was always studying or in residency, we're working 80 hours per week or 80 plus hours per week, 36-hour shifts and so on. But then it got to the point that even when I had the time, I was seemingly unable to sleep. And really during
Oh.
that time, I became a much worse version of myself. I was very stressed and anxious and frustrated. I felt that I wasn't being the doctor that I wanted to be, the wife that I wanted to be. Like I was just really struggling in a lot of areas. And so knew that I just had to make a change. And so it started with my own process to fix my sleep. I started to read every single book there was about sleep. I started to volunteer in the sleep clinic in my hospital, like during just my own elective time. And in that process, I really fell in love with sleep. And I was like, whoa, this is more than just feeling rested or not feeling rested. This goes so much deeper and it really affects every aspect of your functioning. And I knew that in order to be my best self, I really needed to invest in my sleep. So I started to put the things into practice that I was learning, and my life really changed. And from there, I was like, okay, I have to help other people do the same. Just in my own life and clinic, family, friends, so many people were struggling with sleep. So I was like, I need to help them. So I started a blog in residency to like just get the word out.
Oh.
And then, yeah, and on top of all the other things I was doing, but I was just so passionate about it that I was like, I don't care. Like it was fun for me. And then I got certified as a clinical sleep specialist right after residency. I started working with individuals and then companies, and it kind of took on a life of its own from there. So that is what has brought me to this point.
What was the thing that helped you at that time in residency get sort of back on track with your sleep that you thought, oh, everybody needs to know this?
Yeah, so many things, but I would say the number one thing, and I think the thing that helps other people I work with the most is changing my mindset around sleep and prioritizing sleep. So I knew
Oh.
sleep was important, but it was one of those things that I would do when I got to it, right? So I have to work and then I come home and I have to have some, relaxation time and some me time. And then I have to do notes and then I have to do all these things. And it was like, okay, so whatever time is left over after all of that, then I'll go ahead and try to sleep. And that's really not how sleep works. Sleep is a 24-hour process, whether you realize it or not. It's more than what you do
Oh.
at night. It's what you do from the moment you open your eyes. And so, even though I was so busy and I was working all the time, I had to be more intentional about setting
Mm.
aside time that was dedicated for sleep no matter what. being intentional about preparing my body and mind for sleep so that I was more successful at it. But that really took a mindset shift to understand that, like, no, of all the things you're doing this day, you're doing so many important things. Sleep is just as important, and you really have to prioritize that in your life as well.
What does that mean, a 24-hour process?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say good sleep starts from the moment you open your eyes. And the reason for that is that the processes that govern your sleep, you have two main processes that control your sleep: your circadian rhythm, which most people have at least heard of that term. And that's that roughly 24-hour cycle that dictates when you feel awake or alert. So alerting factors are sent throughout the day. And then you have your melatonin that's sent at night based on your circadian rhythm. That functions all throughout the day. It doesn't just start at night. It doesn't turn off during certain times. It's not off on the weekends. Like, it's a 24-hour process. Same for your sleep drive. That's the second process that controls your sleep. Your sleep drive works very differently than your circadian rhythm in that from the moment you open your eyes, your sleep drive increases until you go to sleep, you sleep it off, and then it starts over. So there are things that you do during your day to make those processes work in conjunction with each other in a way that's conducive to sleep. And there are things you can do that can absolutely make those processes not conducive to sleep. Things like getting natural light exposure first thing in the morning is actually one of the best ways that you can reinforce your circadian rhythm. As a resident, someone who was getting up at the crack of dawn before the sun was out and leaving the hospital after the sun went down, I was definitely not doing that. So light is the strongest factor influencing your circadian rhythm in a way that tells you to be awake and alert. So
So that does that mean just go outside?
Yeah, so going outside is one of the best things you can do. If you can go for a walk, I say sit outside to have your morning cup of coffee. If you can't do that, at least opening the blinds and doing your morning routine near a window. But for some, like myself, when I was like, there was no light in during my morning routine at all, having a light box or like therapy, the artificial light also can
Mm.
help to reinforce your circadian rhythm and train that. But the point is to hit your retinas with that light to stop your melatonin release and start to reinforce your circadian rhythm.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. What were
That's
Go ahead.
that's really interesting. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It sounds so basic, but it's really not. It's
Hmm.
like the whole you think I'm just tired, I should go to sleep, but it starts from the morning and all like the
Mm.
whole thing.
The
That's super
whole thing.
interesting.
Wow.
Absolutely. In
I would
addition, oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead, please.
I was going to say, in addition, one thing that's really powerful that people often have heard but don't really follow is just waking up at the same time every day. So it's actually more
Okay.
important to wake up at the same time than it is to go to sleep at the same time every day.
Really?
Really?
Because that is how you reinforce and retrain your circadian rhythm to start sending those alerting factors at the same time. You should try to go to sleep around the same time, but if you're not sleepy, you should do relaxing activities until you get sleepy because once you get into the bed, you want to be sleepy enough to fall asleep to strengthen your connection between your bed and sleep. But getting up is something you have control over, right? You set your alarm, and after so long, you don't even need an alarm to get up at the same time every day. Even on the weekends, is really the key here because again, your circadian rhythm doesn't take weekends off. It's functioning 24/7, but that is another great way to keep everything on track and helps your melatonin to be released at the same time each night as well.
Wow.
I would
Wow.
love to know a little bit about your book.
Yeah. So
That's
I have a book called Sleeping on the Job: Proven Strategies to Optimize Your Workplace Performance and Personal Well-Being Through Better Sleep. And the reason I wrote this book is in my journey through my own sleep struggles and in helping other people sleep, what I learned and saw over and over again was where and how we work has a significant impact on how we sleep. And then conversely, how we sleep has a significant impact on how we work. And we can't really disentangle the two. They're so intimately intertwined that I felt the need to address them both in order to really help people optimize their life and their sleep. And so sleeping on the job was my way of doing that. I kind of separate the book into two parts. The first part is just detailing all the ways your sleep impacts your ability to perform optimally at work. So from your memory, creativity, efficiency, productivity, all of those things are directly impacted by your sleep. And then the second half of the book, I go into how to optimize and set up your work day at night for better sleep. So your morning routine, managing workplace stress and anxiety, what to do if you work remotely, different work situations like night shift, rotating shifts, because all of these things directly impact how you sleep. And I broke it down to give very simple, practical, but actionable steps that people anywhere in any situation can start to implement to improve their sleep. And so it really is my baby. I kind of threw everything into there. I think it's something of all the things I offer provides the most values to people who read it.
Wow.
Even on your website, you have some good resources. You have sleep accessories, and then I also noticed you have um a workbook.
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
I created a workbook to go along with the book because I wanted people to have this game plan that they can create for themselves and make it very individualized. So as you're reading the book and you're learning about these strategies and these things you need to implement, you can go through the workbook and figure out what that looks like for your individual situation, down to like how to make changes to your bedroom for better sleep, your schedule, like I said, strategies to manage your anxiety and stress, all of those things to give you this roadmap for better sleep in your own personal life.
wow.
Okay.
Wow. So in your
What
book, you
it,
do talk about the night shift workers.
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut off for a second.
Did I? I'm sorry. And do you also in the book you briefly mentioned night shift,
Yes.
people who
Yeah.
work the night shift. You have a whole section on that.
A whole
Wow.
section on night shift, a whole section on rotating shifts. And the reason for that is, again, my sleep struggle really started with residency. We were going from all different kinds of shifts, and it really wreaks havoc on your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
And the conventional sleep strategies and recommendations aren't really going to work for night shift workers.
Wow.
And so I feel that there was such a population that was left out when it comes to sleep. Like just because you work night shift doesn't mean you don't need good sleep. And so I wanted to make sure that I spoke to everyone in any work situation about how to improve their sleep. So I absolutely dedicated a chapter to those individuals, and then some other chapters for individuals who work different shifts as well.
Wow. I have so many people that I've talked to that are like, there's just nothing for me to do. This is my life. This is my work. And I love that there's hope for those people,
Absolutely,
you
absolutely.
know?
There is, it is working night shift and rotating shift does go against the conventional way that we would set things up if we had, our options, but people are going to work those shifts. So there are things you can do. There is hope. There are ways that you can improve not only your sleep, but your functioning during that time, because oftentimes those individuals aren't functioning optimally during their work shift. They have decreased energy and all those things. So there are ways that you can have a greater balance to your life and your sleep while working those shifts.
Wow. So
that's
cool.
incredible.
So
Because
let
you
me,
think, well, you
yeah.
would think that when you work night shift, you're just doomed to not have good sleep. But
Yes.
I like Leah said, I think it's great that there's hope for people who
Yeah.
maybe do a night shift or shift work in general.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to shift gears for 1 second, and I just was wondering what your thoughts on it. Do you find a connection between weight gain and sleep problems?
100%. There is a
Really?
connection, and it's been well documented in research as well. So, and I talk about this in my book too. So, when you are in a state of sleep deprivation, either acutely, so like you miss, a couple of days of sleep, or chronically, your hormone that causes you to be hungry, ghrelin, is actually released in higher quantities. And the hormone that signals to your body that you're full, leptin, is released in lower quantities. So your appetite is stimulated hormonally and metabolically. You are more likely to eat because there's an imbalance in those hormones. In addition, your frontal lobe, the front part of the brain, is not functioning appropriately when you're not getting enough sleep. And that controls your executive functioning. So your decision making, your rationalization, thinking through things, meaning you are you value instant gratification in that state. So you are much more likely to reach for cookies or donuts or ice cream, something that gives you that instant gratification, than you are to think through the fact that you should really be eating a salad right now. The other thing is you are less likely to be active. So just in general, right? If you're tired and exhausted, you're just much less likely to go to the gym. But what's more important than that is that your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, also decreases. Because in the state of sleep deprivation, your body tries to conserve energy. So things that you don't even think about, like blinking, fidgeting, walking, going upstairs, all those things decreases. So it really all creates this perfect storm of weight gain and obesity.
Wow. I never even thought about the last two things, like the frontal lobe part, and then what did you call it? Neat?
Yes, NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which really it is responsible for the bulk of the calories we burn throughout the day. So me, the fact that I'm moving my hands like this is just how I talk. I'm much less likely to do that if I were very tired. If I were sleep deprived, I'm going to sit more still. I'm going to blink a little less. I'm going to fidget a little less. I'm not going to
Wow.
take the stairs. I'm not going to move as much around my home. All of those things decrease automatically because our body is saying
Hmm.
we have not restored and replenished our energy overnight. So let's conserve this. So you're definitely burning less calories just throughout the day.
Wow.
Wow.
And it is like you said, the perfect storm. Starts with your hormones, it goes to your brain, it goes to the neat. I feel so smart that I learned that today. Neat. I'll never be able to repeat it, but I'm just saying.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's actually huge when it comes to weight gain. So much so,
Mhm.
in addition, even when people are like, yeah, but I push myself. I definitely work out when I'm tired. Okay, great. Your growth hormone, which is part of what's responsible for building muscles, is released at night during deep sleep. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you're getting less growth hormone, you're getting less muscle built. You're also more likely to burn muscle than you are fat. Again, there's this energy conservation, and fat has a lot of energy, so your body's going to hold on to that more. So there are just so many factors that play into that when you're not getting this.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Well,
feel
go
smarter
ahead,
already.
Kamna. I know.
So I, because you're so knowledgeable, we were thinking that we could spend the remainder of our time just asking you a bunch of questions that we have.
Absolutely.
If you're okay with that.
Let's go for it.
All
All right.
right. Leah, you want to go first?
Yeah, I do. And this is a silly one. Socks. Wear them to bed or don't wear them to bed.
Okay, so let me start by saying wearing socks to bed has been shown in research to improve sleep, to help you
Oh.
fall asleep faster and sleep longer.
Go
The
on. I'm
reason
so
The reason for this is that your body temperature has to decrease by 1 to 2 degrees in order to facilitate the transition to sleep and maintenance of sleep. An increasing body temperature naturally occurs in the early morning hours and is a signal to your body to wake up. So if that's happening too soon, you're more likely to have broken, poor quality sleep. Stocks cause vasodilation, so dilation of your blood vessels, so that heat is dissipated. Uh, let's see, how can I explain this? I'm trying not to be too scientific, but basically your body gets rid of heat so that your core body temperature decreases. It helps you to stay that way throughout the night, so it does improve your sleep. The caveat is,
Mm.
so that's true. If you are someone who cannot sleep in socks because they're uncomfortable, then the benefits may not outweigh the fact that it's uncomfortable for you. But if you're someone who's like, yeah, I don't really care, I don't mind, it might be better for you to sleep with socks on.
Okay.
Is there an ideal temperature for you to keep your room at?
Yeah. So according to research, it's between 62 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And that is based on the average body temperature being about 98.6 degrees, and that temperature being sufficient to drop it by that 1 to 2 degrees. So if you can keep within that range, excellent. I personally keep mine on 67 degrees every night. Some people will be like, Dr. Holliday-Bell, absolutely not. I'm going to freeze to death. No, that's way too cold. In which case I say, first of all, try it. But if you feel like you're freezing, at least drop your temperature by at least 2 degrees from what is comfortable for you during the day. So if during the day you're at
Okay.
74, go to 72. You can alter your natural body temperature might be a little bit lower than what the average is. So everybody's a little different, but definitely turn it down from what it is during the day.
That was a great starting place where you said go 2 degrees from where you are now. Because I know I for one, when I heard 68, I'm like, well, there's no way I will freeze my butt off. And then, but I like that there's a starting place to go to. That was great tip. Okay. You want me to ask the next? Go ahead. Do you have another one, Kamna?
I have a lot.
All right, go ahead.
Is there, I heard this thing to be, people are talking about this, that from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock is your peak REM sleep or quality sleep. Is that true?
Okay, so I would say there is some disagreement about this in the sleep community, and I'm one of the individuals who tends to disagree. Because if you look at the research on average, it will show that you get better quality sleep during that time, and you get deeper sleep during that time. Your deep sleep happens more in the first third of the night. Your REM or dream sleep happens more in the later third of the night. However, what I feel is that it doesn't take into account different chronotypes. So chronotypes are, put simply, early bird, night owl. There are different ones. There are not like 4 different ones that it's been broken down into. And what happens with your natural chronotype is if I'm a night owl, I naturally get sleepier later in the night. So my natural circadian rhythm might not be sending me sleepy signals at about 10. So I don't think that it'll be the same for me as it is for someone who would naturally get sleepy at 9 p.m., so to speak. So I think it's actually more important if you are able to function in accordance with your natural chronotype, which the world isn't set up for night owls, unfortunately. It's actually better to do that. You're going to perform more optimally that way. If not, then, just try to stick to a consistent schedule that fits your life as opposed to trying to have this magical time, because we're all so different. I think it doesn't really make sense to say for everybody, this is the time window that you're going to hit your peak.
Okay.
Wow, good.
So people are literally born either a night owl or an early bird. It's
Yep.
just
Genetics. Absolutely. So if your
genetics.
parents are both night owls, you're much more likely to be a night owl and vice versa. Now, there are more early birds. And again, it's broken down more. So there's like the bear, there are other things, but put simply, if you split those two up, more people are going to be early birds than night owls. Night owls are more of the minority, which is why things like those studies are going to relate more to early birds, just because if you just percentage wise, there are going to be more of them. But it's absolutely a genetic thing. It's just in your DNA. There's not a whole lot you can do about that.
Wow. Oh, that makes me feel good too. Like that there are people that are like, I'm a morning person. That's just what I am. Just
Exactly.
in my DNA. Love that. Okay, so one of your videos, which I've watched probably 25 times, is about sleep snacking. Can you please tell me what a sleep snack is?
Yeah, so sleep snacking is when you snack on sleep before bedtime by falling asleep on the couch, usually inadvertently. So you're binge watching your favorite show, you're watching a movie, you fall asleep on the couch, you get a little snack in, but then it decreases your appetite for sleep when it's time to get into bed. The other
So it
issue
has
is that
nothing to do with actually eating food. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt, but nothing. Okay.
nothing to eating food. It's snacking on sleep itself by sleeping on the couch before your bedtime.
So it's when you're watching TV in your head, like you notice your head doing the head bob and you're falling asleep. That's the sleep snacking.
That's the sleep snacking. So you're like,
And
most people, for them, they're really like, they're like, well, the last thing I knew, I was watching my show and then I was waking up to get off the couch to get into bed. You are snacking on sleep right before the main course, which is your overnight sleep.
and then you can't get a good night's sleep or you can't fall asleep.
Oftentimes, yes. So a lot of people will struggle and say, I fall asleep fine on the couch. And then as soon as I get up to get into bed, I struggle to
Yes.
fall asleep.
So
And the reason for that is, number one, you've taught yourself that you sleep on the couch. The couch is where sleep happens. That is when you've taught your brain, right? A lot of what we do with sleep is mental, and it's about what we teach ourselves and habits and consistency. So if you're consistently falling asleep on the couch, your brain is like, oh, well, the couch is where we sleep. And then you get up to get into bed and it's a struggle because this is not where we do this. We fall asleep on the couch. The other thing is when you snack on sleep, you steal from that sleep drive that we talked about, the circadian rhythm and the sleep drive that builds up throughout the day. So now that pressure isn't quite as high because you've decreased it from sleeping on the couch. Also, when people get up from getting on the couch, now they're turning on the lights to brush their teeth, to do all these other things, and you're stimulating yourself to be awake. So there are so many factors that are playing against you falling asleep in bed. So instead of doing that, if you feel yourself falling asleep or getting droopy on the couch, get up, do your nighttime routine, and go into bed. Take advantage of that sleep drive so that the bed becomes a stronger stimulus for sleep than the couch.
oh my God. Okay, so this is literally an argument that I have with my mom, and she's like, but I need to watch my shows. What do you say to somebody? It's like, you're falling asleep on the couch, go to bed.
Go to bed. So for some people, watching television, all those things are part of their unwind routine. And okay, fine. You just have to be careful about when that takes place. You should ideally have a bedtime routine that's somewhere between 45 to 60 minutes, ideally, but whatever time you have to dedicate to that. And watching television really shouldn't be a part of that routine, mostly because of the stimulation and the light that's emitted from the television screen. So have that be your after dinner activity. Okay, after dinner, I sit down, I watch my show. This is how I unwind. Then I engage in my bedtime routine. Then I go to sleep so that it's not impacting your overnight sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a time to stop eating before bed, like a certain number of hours?
Yeah, so we recommend not eating your biggest meal, so like a dinner, 3 hours or so before bedtime, because you don't want your digestive system to be active when you're trying to fall asleep. because that is still a process that takes energy. It will drive heat to your stomach. All of these things are going on. It can interfere with your ability to fall asleep. So you want to give your body a sufficient amount of time to digest that food before you're trying to go to bed. The caveat to that is, so for some people, hunger pains and drops in blood sugar can also impact their sleep. So that can cause you to wake up. It's a safety mechanism. Your body wakes up like, oh, we haven't had enough calories, we need to eat. And that can impact your sleep. If that is you, a healthy bedtime snack about an hour or two before bed can be helpful. But what that means is a very small snack that's rich in protein and complex carbs. The protein helps to keep you full and satiated throughout the night, so you're not having hunger pains. And complex carbs like berries, fruit, things like that can help stabilize your blood sugar so it's not dropping lower. So it's like Greek yogurt, berries, and something like that. That's not causing your digestive system to be too active, but helps to keep you stable overnight.
Have you dealt with people waking up to eat in the middle of the night?
Yeah, yeah.
Is this related to what you're just talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. So there are two different people that do that. There's actually a sleep eating disorder, which is
Okay.
more complex and just like waking up because of hunger.
Right.
It's more of a mental thing and that requires a separate treatment. But yes, there are also individuals who will wake up because they're hungry or their blood sugar has dropped. They don't know necessarily that's why they get up to eat. But again, our habits entrain future things to occur, right? So the more you get up to eat at night, the more your body learns that at night is when we eat. This is when we get our calories.
Okay.
Every single cell in your body has a circadian rhythm. So for instance, your digestive system sends digestive enzymes and things like that on a certain rhythm based on that 24-hour cycle. Same thing with your hormones and all those things. So you can actually train yourself that, okay, at 3 a.m. is when I normally eat. So your body will start to send those digestive enzymes looking for that meal because you've taught it that that is when that's supposed to occur. So you
Wow.
really do have to break that habit if you're doing that too often.
So
Okay.
it's all about breaking that habit then.
Breaking that habit. What I like to say is your brain functions in a way to make life more efficient for you. And it does this by making connections between things that you commonly experience and associate them together so that you don't have to think too much. So for
Okay.
example, you may find that you walk into the bathroom and all of a sudden you have to pee or urinate and you didn't have that urge before. Your brain knows that that's what we do in the bathroom. You don't have to walk in there and say, wait, there's a toilet in here. What do I do with that? And there's a sink.
Oh,
Your brain is
yeah.
saying these are the things that happen in this place. You can do that in a way that works for your good, or you can do that in a way that doesn't work as optimally. So you have to be thinking about the associations and the things that you're teaching your brain to associate together.
Wow.
Very interesting.
I know. Your
Okay.
brain is so smart.
What do you think about sleeping with pets?
Okay, so I don't love sleeping with pets. I know that in one way, for some people, sleeping with pets can be comforting and it releases that oxytocin, which is the feel-good hormone, and can help them relax and decrease some anxiety. The problem is pets tend to disrupt your sleep quality. They tend to move and do all these things, make sounds and noises that impact your sleep. So I would say typically those things don't outweigh the feel goodness that comes from that. So I think for the most part, it's typically not a great idea. If you have an amazing pet that just like sits there still, at night and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't bother your sleep, go for it. But for most people, the pet will impact their sleep.
What about
Okay.
if you have a snoring partner?
Yes. Goes
Kick
right
them
to
out.
that. Fine with
Just kidding. Now it gets a little bit trickier when it's a human and not a pet. So first of all, if your partner is snoring, I would actually dig into their sleep quality. Are they snoring and not having a sleep quality, waking up with morning headaches, tired throughout the day? If so, they should actually be assessed by their medical providers to make sure there's nothing deeper going on, like an obstructive sleep apnea. But not all that snores is obstructive sleep apnea. So you could snore and not have a condition. If it's allergies, make sure you address that. Um, if you are the partner of a snorer, what can be helpful is drowning it out with some soothing, continuous sounds throughout the night. So a white noise machine.
Mm.
There are also sleep. I personally use this every single night. There are sleep masks that have sleep headphones built into them that are
Oh,
nice and thin, so you don't feel them, and you can play sounds just to you throughout the night that are loud enough to drown out the snoring. There are
Hmm.
even some pillows that have built-in speakers now, so there are options to drown out the sounds, hopefully, that your partner is making.
wow.
And if you can't do that, then they probably really should be assessed. If it's like that loud that nothing will drown it out, there likely is something else going on.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Okay, so does everyone need 7 to 8 hours?
No. I need 9, so no.
Uh,
So I so
I love that
I
you
thought
need 9.
I need 9. Yeah. I mean, it's just something I've accepted. I wish I needed 7 sometimes because I'm like, I would just live more life if I did need 9. But hey, I need 9 and I get 9. But so that is your sleep need. Your sleep need is the amount of sleep you need to function optimally throughout your day with adequate energy for your normal activities. Most people have heard that you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, and that is true on average. But similar to the early bird night owl thing, that's just an average because sleep need is like shoe size. There are averages, but there's no one size fits all. People will fall on this range. So it really is important to determine what your sleep need is. When I get 7 hours of sleep, if there's a reason I only get 7, I'm tired. I'm not functioning optimally. It's not like a great night for me. I'm sleepy. After 8 hours, I'm better, but I'm not functioning optimally. 9 hours is really that sweet spot where I feel good and rested all throughout the day. So you really need to figure out what that is for you. For some people, that's going to be 6.5 hours. For most people, it's really going to be 7, 8, 9, or 9.5-ish hours. The amount of
The-
people that need less than 6 hours, I just have to put anytime anyone asks me this, I'm like, let me just be
Yeah.
clear. The amount of people that need less than 6 hours is roughly 1 in 4 million. So
oh,
you're likely not one of those people.
Yes.
There's like a genetic short sleep
I
syndrome. There's a mutation in their DNA that causes them to need that small amount. So most people are not going to need less than
oh,
6
I love that you just said that because I can't tell you how many people are like, I only need 3 hours. I'm like, but your
hours.
body needs more. Like your weight loss needs more. Your body needs like, oh,
Everything needs more. Yeah, you
do
you
you
absolutely need more than 3 hours.
do you think your sleep needs change as you get older?
Absolutely, they
ooh,
do. Yeah. So, just generally speaking, so an infant will sleep up to 18 hours a day, and their sleep is evenly spread throughout the day and night. And then, as you get older, your sleep need changes. Adolescents should really be getting somewhere between 8 to 9, really 8 to 10 hours. So, they often will stick to that 7 to 8 hours, but that's typically not enough for the development that needs to occur. In adulthood, again, it's closer to that 7 to 9, 9.5 hours of sleep, but then it remains consistent beyond that. So there's this
oh,
misconception that elderly individuals need less sleep. That's not true. They tend to have more sleep problems and they tend to have an advanced sleep phase disorder. So, meaning it's not normal, but they still need the same amount of sleep. So, it does decrease, but only to a certain extent. Generally, in adulthood, it remains the same.
One of the things we have heard in our groups is that people don't like to drink water because that means they have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom.
Mhm.
Do you, is it normal to have to get up or is there a workaround?
Yeah, yeah. So it is absolutely common and not abnormal to have to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom once, maybe twice. If you're doing it many times, that's a different story. Also, you should stay hydrated. Water is important. What can
Yes.
be helpful to mitigate that is trying to limit beverages, water or whatever else within 2 hours of bedtime. So really, after dinner, maybe having some water, but try not to have too much after that. And then avoiding diuretics. So like caffeine, alcohol, you should avoid for other reasons, but in addition, they actually cause you to produce more urine. So you want to avoid those things too close to bedtime too.
Okay.
okay. Now, what if you do get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and then you can't fall back asleep?
Yeah, and that's fairly common, right? Some people, whatever stimulus wakes them up, and then either they have all this rush of, thoughts running through their heads or things like that that impact their ability to fall back asleep. So it's more important what you do during that time than the fact that you're actually awake. The first thing is not to panic. So I always tell people it's actually normal to wake up multiple times throughout the night. As we transition through sleep cycles, there's a brief awakening between your deep and your light stage of sleep. Most of the time we don't remember it. You may, move your pillow, readjust yourself, and then fall back asleep. But so waking up itself is not the problem. Staying up is more of an issue. If you wake up, first of all, get back into bed, keep the lights low. So people may have seen those memes or like the people are like walking around in the dark trying to keep their sleepy. There's something to that because light is the strongest factor influencing your circadian rhythm in a way that tells you to be awake and alert. So if you're turning on lights or doing other things, grabbing your phone, that can cause you to stay awake longer because now you've told your brain that you want to be awake.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the clock can also do the same thing. So when you look at the clock in the middle of the night, for most people, it triggers what I call a countdown anxiety. As soon as you see the clock, you're like, okay, I'm gonna have 4 more hours to sleep. Let me try to hurry up and fall asleep. Okay, now it's only 3 more hours of sleep, and it just creates this cycle. So best not to do that. So you want to get into bed, try to think relaxing thoughts, fall asleep. If you're not able to do so within 20 minutes, roughly, because you're estimating, it's best to get out of your bed, do some relaxing activity until you feel sleepy enough to fall asleep, and then get back into bed. The reason for this goes back to that connection that we talked about that your brain makes, because for some people, they stay in bed trying to force themselves to sleep. They're stressed, they're anxious, they're tossing and turning, and they do that so much that their brain learns that that's what we do in bed. So as soon as they get into bed, they could be dead tired. They automatically become anxious and stressed. And like, I wasn't even like, I was fine 2 seconds ago, but you've taught your brain that this is what we do in the bed.
My
And
God,
so it's important
I
to
feel so good
separate.
hearing that.
Yeah.
I feel I feel like normal now because I go to bed, I'm tired, and then I turn everything off, and suddenly like I jerk awake, and
Mhm.
I'm that makes me feel good that it's
Yeah,
normal.
yeah. That is part of the reason. It's like what you've taught yourself that this is what we do in bed. So it really takes a lot to break that cycle. You have to let go of the pressure. You can't force yourself to sleep. You can't will yourself to sleep, or I wouldn't be doing this job. You're like, just try harder and you fall asleep. The harder you
Mhm.
try, the less likely you are. Let go of it. Do something relaxing. Sleep comes in waves. We like to say that in the sleep community. So ride the wave until the next one comes, but don't try
Yeah.
to force it because then you just make yourself more stressed and anxious.
What do you think about drinking milk before going to bed as a way to like make yourself sleepy?
Yeah, so there actually is some research that shows that milk can help melatonin production.
Oh,
So there is something to like the warm glass of milk. It actually can be helpful as long as you're not lactose intolerant. So a lot of
Yeah.
people who have some digestive issues around milk, so I wouldn't do it then. But if not, milk, tart cherry juice, you guys may have seen that trend kind of blowing up everywhere.
mm.
There is some research that shows that those things do help melatonin production.
So if you're having trouble sleeping, maybe a glass of cherry juice or
Yeah.
Tart
maybe a
cherry
warm
juice.
milk tart cherry
Yeah,
juice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tart cherry juice or warm milk may or may not help. Now, again, neither of these things are magic bullets. You know, if you're really struggling with insomnia, not gonna knock you out, but they can be a good addition, especially if you say, oh, I'm feeling a little bit, particularly more worked up, or I'm not falling asleep as normally as I would. You can try those things and see if it helps.
When do you think a person would need to see someone like you as for help?
Yeah. So if you are struggling with chronic insomnia, which is difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up earlier than intended, at least 3 nights per week for at least 3 months, that is chronic insomnia. And oftentimes we have to deliver something called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia in order to fix that, because it becomes much deeper rooted than just, not great sleep hygiene. So it's not about just going to sleep at the same time. There's such this deep rooted connection between stress, anxiety, and sleep. Sleep becomes a battle and a struggle, and it's not this restorative, restful process that it should be. And so we have to usually get to the root cause of that, undo some of the things that you've taught yourself in that process, and really kind of wipe the slate clean. And that typically will take someone who's trained in doing that to kind of walk you through those steps. So I would say definitely in that instance. And if you're just struggling to sleep and you feel that you've done the things that you've been told or you've researched and you've looked at and it's not helping, absolutely ask for help. I think if you are not getting the sleep you need or you deserve to live a happy, healthy life, ask for help. Just like anything else.
Mhm.
You go outside and you break your leg, you're gonna go to the hospital and get help. Ask for help because everyone deserves good quality sleep.
That's a great
Wow.
answer. I love it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know we're running out of time and I don't want to keep you. One more.
Yeah.
Melatonin, yes or no?
Yeah. Yes, in certain situations. No
Okay.
to every night. Okay. Melatonin is, we naturally produce melatonin. I've already mentioned it a few times to help reinforce our circadian rhythm. So if your circadian rhythm is thrown off because of travel, so jet lag, or let's say it's summer vacation and you've been staying up late because you're a night owl and then now you have to switch back to work or school life, melatonin short term can be helpful to just adjust things, pull things back a little bit and get your circadian rhythm
Mm.
on track. However, it's not a sleeping pill. It's not something that should be used every single night. It should be used in low doses, like 1 to 3 milligrams and not like 20, 30 from, what I see people use. So yes, but you have to do it responsibly.
Okay.
Okay. Wow.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we didn't even tackle half of our questions for you. You're so knowledgeable and you explain it all so well. I can't thank you enough for coming on. Where can we find you on Instagram? I know where I can find you because I already followed you, but Where can everybody else?
You can find me at @thesleep_MD. As you already mentioned, I try to just give bite-sized, entertaining, educational information around sleep that is easy to implement. And as you can see, I'm just so passionate about it. Again, I think everyone deserves sleep. So I'm happy to help. And I'm so happy you guys brought me on the show. Thank you again for that.
And your book is called Sleeping on the Job.
Sleeping on the Job. You can find it on
Fine.
Amazon or at sleepingonthejobbook.com.
Okay.
And
what
your
else, Connie?
website is
The
solution
solution
is
is sleep.com.
okay, great. Awesome. So people
Awesome.
know where to find you.
Yes,
Um,
any of those avenues.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you
thank
so
you
much for
again.
today.
Yes, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye.